What up, guys? 3 weeks out, and today bench went really good. So as I was warming up, even though I was really tired, I only slept around 4 to 6 hours last night because I kept peeing. I don't know why. I kept waking up in the middle of the night. Then my dog started barking out of nowhere. I came in super early today because I have another early meeting today. But the warm-ups went really well. 135 felt good, 225, and then usually 315 is my marker, and that lets me know how it feels. And I was able to pause 315 for a little bit longer than usual, and I blasted that up. And then when I moved on to 345, which is probably gonna be around my opener, either 345 or 350, that felt really, really good. So then my first working set was 375. That's the true testament as to whether or not I'm gonna have a good bench day, because I'm supposed to hit 3 singles at 375 today. My first 375 flew up with a good pause, RPE 8.5, maybe 9, and it felt really, really good. And I was so happy. But then I got overconfident and I fucked up. So for the second set, I was like, man, I'm gonna pause this motherfucker for way longer. I paused it for about 2 to 3 seconds, but then that skyrocketed into an RPE 12, and I pretty much grinded the top part of it. And I'm like, fuck, I fucked up. I shouldn't have been overconfident. It's so close to meet day. What am I doing fucking around? And then for the third set, I just paused it normally, but because it took so much out of me from the second set, my third set also felt like a RPE 9.5, RPE 10, even though I just paused it regularly. And a lot of people see my bench and they go, Bart's bench is relatively strong, but what they don't know is that I've been benching and training for a long time. I'm actually not a genetic freak at all. I'm not one of those guys that benched 405 in high school and just super jacked out of nowhere. For me, it's important to do whatever I can to get a good bench. And what I mean by that is whatever position that I need to get in for the bench, it's really important to stretch all those positions out. Because I'm not a genetic freak, I can't bench with the flat back. I can't bench without warming up. I can't just throw 225 on there and lay down and be able to blast it a million times. I have to warm up with the bar. I have to warm up with 135 multiple times in order to build all the way up, because I'm not a genetic freak, I'm just the average Joe. So I wanna share with you guys some of the stretches that I do that helps me get in a really good position. So one of the things that's really important to me when getting a good bottom bench arch position is loosening up the glutes. A lot of times people's glutes cramp up when they're benching because you're squeezing it so hard to get that nice arch. Another thing that I do is relaxing my lower back and bending over and touching my toes in all sorts of different angles, because another thing, when you're benching and you're having that arch, there's a tendency for your back to also cramp up. And then after that, I also stretch out my quads and also my hips just to kind of loosen everything up. And even beyond that, I do a lot of band stretches, like I do flies with the bands, and then I do band pull aparts against the bench to warm up my upper back. I do triceps, and I also warm up my shoulders. So as you can see, for me to even do well on a bench and to have a good bench day, it takes at least 30 to 45 minutes of preparation to get my body warmed up and prepared, and to be able to get into a good position to have a good bench day. So for those of you guys out there who have a struggling body part or movement, it's really important that you do whatever you can to make sure you have the best training session possible. And the same thing applies with getting enough sleep, getting enough food, not partying too much, not drinking too much, to make sure you have the best training day possible. Because if you're not a genetic freak, you can't just recover from everything, and you can't just bench one day and the next day throw on 20 pounds and hit PRs every single week. It's not realistic, so it's really important for you to know what is your best training environment, your best training scenario, and you do whatever you can to make sure you get that. Afterwards, we did super light, super low volume accessories, just pretty much one set of each of overhead press, then upright rows, then pull-ups, jam press, and then biceps, just because we're tapering off now, we're 3 weeks out. And I'm doing accessories just to make sure that the muscles don't atrophy and it stays stimulated, but it's not enough to fatigue me from my actual movements. And that's it for this episode. Peace.